I'm Kate.
I'm Serena.
And we're the Library Ladies.
Back to do another review. Hopefully this one will be a little bit more put together.
Yeah, well, we can only hope. This time we're going to be reviewing the movie version of The Jungle Book that just came out. We just saw it the other night, and we have things to say.
Yeah, either of us actually have read this book.
No.
It was in my family's cabin, and I would every once in a while pick it up and try and read it, because I was obviously familiar with the Disney version.
Sure.
But I hadn't read it, so obviously it's by Rudyard Kipling. It was published in 1894. Mm-hmm. Fun fact, it's kind of more a bunch of short stories and poems in a collection versus a traditional novel, as we, I think, typically think of the story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was published originally in a magazine, but then they compiled it all together. And only, like, the first half of the book is actually the story of Mowgli that we're traditionally used to. Mm-hmm. So most of this movie was based on the Disney version and retelling that versus the novel.
Mm-hmm. Apparently they're very different.
Yes. As far as the other movies, I've seen them both.
Mm-hmm, me too. I grew up with the original, really, because the second one came out. I was well into teenagedom at that point. Maybe I saw it when I was babysitting once.
That did not stop me, because Carrie Elwes from Princess Bride is in that version, and that's all it took for me to watch it obsessively.
Oh, that one. I thought it was the Jungle Book 2 we were talking about.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. I haven't even seen the live action one. No, I haven't.
Well, that's going to need to be corrected.
I mean, Carrie Elwes.
He's a villain.
Oh, well, then why would I even...
Because he's still attractive.
Oh, that's why I watch him in Twister, so...
And it's been a long time since I've seen the Disney version, but I do have pretty clear memories of it, so that was interesting, comparing that to this.
Yeah, totally. I remember liking the Disney version when I was a kid. I remember liking all of the characters quite a bit, and... So going into this one, I was pretty excited to see what they were going to do with it.
Yes.
So I guess I'll start with what I liked. I really liked the casting. I thought that they did a really good job with who they chose to portray the different characters. I thought that Ben Kingsley as Bagheera was really good. He's very good at sort of bringing that regal, pompous sound to Bagheera. Bill Murray as Baloo. You're not going to go wrong with Bill Murray as anything, in my opinion. So him as Baloo was really great. He really sort of brought out that con artist aspect of Baloo that he is at first when it comes to Mowgli. And the little kid who played Mowgli was just like the cutest little kid ever. I just wanted to grab his cheek.
If you're not being cute, if you're just thinking about the technical aspect of how they made that movie, that had been really challenging.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was acting against... green screen.
Yeah, green screen.
Like, there was nothing there. Like, that's incredibly impressive how convincing he was and able to stay in character and interact with, these kind of CGI animals.
Yeah.
So it was really, really impressive.
I do want to talk about the fact that they gave his wolf mom, Raksha, more to do. His wolf mom had a lot more to do in this one, which was nice, especially given that this is a story that doesn't really have many female characters. Right. So they gave her more to do, and then they made Ka into a woman. Scarlett Johansson played her, and I thought that she was really scary. There
was actually several points in this movie that were scary. There were kids in the theater that we went to, and I was oh my goodness. I'm scared. Or King Louie, who was also terrifying.
King Louie was also really scary. And Shere Khan, played by Idris Elba, another person who can do no wrong, is just a beautiful, beautiful man with his beautiful, beautiful voice, is playing Shere Khan, and he did a really good job too. So for me, I really liked the casting, and I really liked the visuals too. It was a beautiful movie to watch.
We went to see it in 3D, and I think that was actually pretty worth it. I haven't really seen very many movies in 3D. There was a while where I went to a lot, and now I've just kind of given up. It's a lot of extra money for a lot of times not much enhancement to the movie. But this one actually, I think, really benefited. Oh, yeah. Especially Ka. Like, the way they did that was really, really good. I know when I was watching the previews, I was a little concerned about the fact they were making the animals' mouths move when they spoke. Yeah. I kind of go back to... Homeward Bound.
Oh, yes.
Homeward Bound. Yes. Where the animals are speaking, but their mouths don't move. Yeah. And I always really liked that. I mean, I don't think anyone was confused about the animals speaking without seeing their mouths move. And then at some point, everyone's like, well, you know what? We can make their mouths move because we figured out, like, technologically how to do that, so we should. And I was like, I don't really know if you should, because it looks pretty bad. Like,
they were so caught up in seeing if they could do it, they didn't stop to think if they should do it.
With this one, they did do it, and it worked really well. There was a couple times where I found it distracting, but for the most part, it was not a problem.
Yeah.
And you really, like, they maintained enough of the animals that, like, looked just the way they would.
Oh, for sure.
So it was really good. The King Louie specifically, I thought was really interesting what they did with his character.
Yeah. It was
and
good.
Pa, yeah. Their animated version has a lot more comedy to it.
Yeah.
This one, like, took some of those comedic elements and really made them much more serious and scary. Shere Khan, even in the original, was kind of not that effective.
I mean, he was kind of a fop. I mean, I think he was a good villain in the sense of he was good. Like, it was always sort of under the surface. He was very charming. He was very likable, and then he could come out and be like, "Oh, geez."
But at one point, Ka, who was, like, definitely a comedic character in the original cartoon, is easily able to trick Shere Khan.
Yeah, that's true.
And then also, Ka is then later tricked by Mowgli, and so it just kind of creates a weird paradigm. Yeah. But this one, it was like, there was no question.
Oh, no,
he was terrifying from the moment he showed up, throughout the whole thing, and then there's spoilers.
Oh, yeah, we should probably let you know there's spoilers. You've been warned.
Anyways. So, yeah, I liked all the casting they did. It all matched up really, really well.
Yeah. I also liked, when it comes to Shere Khan, the fact, sort of going back to him, that in the original, and I still kind of stand by this in this one, too, where it's like, he's not wrong. Like, humans are a threat to the jungle. Like, and, you know, it's, in this one, it's definitely more he's bitter about having this scar and having this issue. But Shere Khan isn't wrong. Like, humans are going to come. They're a threat. But what I liked about this one is that he's not wrong, but he's going completely about it the wrong way. But he's so obsessive and absolutist that there is no sympathy for him. Well, in this one, though, I'm like, okay, yeah, but no, you're crazy.
Also, at one point, he was threatening a little baby wolf pup.
Yes, he was.
All sympathy is gone there.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, for me, it was when he killed Aquila.
Oh, yeah, that happened earlier. There's some crying.
Yeah, oh my god, there was so much crying. I know that I was just, like, putting my hands under the 3D
I think we were both saying, like, we're okay.
It's okay. No one judges. We're not adult women who are crying.
At a children's movie.
Yeah, it was just, I think that, Lupita Nyong'o, who played, the mother wolf, that was when I started bawling.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Because in the original animated one, it was just like, okay, well, he's leaving. And the wolves didn't really seem to care. But in this one, she's just like, are you kidding me? This is my child. Yeah. You can't take my child away. And I'm just like, no.
There's a lot more weight given to the fact that the wolves were his family in this, which I think was much more effective. The elephants were more of a comedic character in the original Disney one, and they did something really cool with them in this one, where they were kind of more of this, they didn't speak at all. They were just kind of over... How do you describe them?
I sort of saw them as, like, these otherworldly beings to the other animals in the jungle, because they're seen sort of as the creators of the jungle. Yeah. So they're very much held in reverence, they're very much respected, and they're definitely sort of otherworldly and ethereal.
They were sort of like a deity, and they would just kind of wander through, and everyone would just stop.
Yep.
And there was a lot of respect. It was really cool.
It was really good.
It was a really neat thing to do. So in general, I liked the tone. I think the change in tone helped it a lot. It still was funny. Like, Baloo was hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Bill Murray just delivers all of his lines perfectly. It's like Peter Venkman all over again. But there's still a lot of heart there, which I think is really nice, too.
Right. And what they did with the songs was creative. Like, they still incorporated them, but not in the... Now we're gonna have a musical number, and all the animals are gonna dance around. Like, they were still there, and you were still recognizing them, but it didn't interrupt the flow.
That's actually the perfect segue into sort of, like, what didn't really work for me. I didn't feel like they committed as much, because they only did 2 from the original. And not that there were many in the original, but they only did 2, and they only did, like, bits.
Right, it was kind of a weird situation, because some of the songs would have been completely contradictory to other choices they made, like the elephants. Yeah. You can't really have the elephants do this weird, like, militaristic march song when you're having them be deities.
And then the vultures aren't even there. The Beatles. Yeah. I mean, they were the Beatles.
You saw them, but they didn't do anything.
Yeah, they didn't have their, what we going to do today, then? That was a terrible British accent. Sorry, Paul McCartney. But the trust in me thing Like, because Ka has a song, which can be scary, but they didn't even have that, and I know that...
She just kind of spoke the line.
Yeah.
And it was like, there was a lilting tone, but it was definitely not a song.
That actually perfectly segues my other thing. I wanted more Ka, gosh darn it. Ka is awesome.
She was really good.
So it just felt really too bad that we didn't really get more of her. I was like, alright, so when are we going to go back to Ka?
It was really tough because she was so good. And it was one of those situations where you don't know where's the line between too much of a good thing and not enough of a good thing. Because I sometimes wonder if she was so good because she was only there so briefly, and whether they would have brought her back, whether she would have been... I don't know, it's hard, but I did really love her, so I would have wanted to see more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's a good complaint to have, I feel like.
Yes, that is true.
Have a complaint,
not enough.
Not enough of something.
Yeah.
Is much better.
It's a lot better than...
our last review.
There's too much. There's too much of beating up on Superman. What did you have issues with?
My dislikes are actually the same.
Oh,
so I think we've kind of touched on a lot of them.
Okay.
It was still the concern about the animals' mouths moving. There were still a couple parts where the CGI was a little distracting. They did a really good job for the most part. So I don't want to complain about that too much because it was so impressive how well they really did do. There was just a couple of moments where it was a little bit... And sadly, I felt like those moments had to do with Baloo. And I don't know if it's just because Bill Murray was like such a great voice actor that I kept seeing him, and it was like, it was a little strange. But he was so great that I was...
A national treasure, that Bill Murray.
Yes. At the same tone, it was the comedic stuff. Thank God they had it, because it was so dark.
Oh, yeah.
Up to that point, everything was very grim. It was a very dark, sad... scary movie.
Really is.
It's not a criticism because I appreciated all of those things. So when the comedy did come, it was kind of a little bit of a okay, now we're doing comedy. And I need to adjust to this a little bit. So that was a little moment where I was like, okay, I need to readjust. So I don't know if there's a way of transitioning that a little bit better. Maybe, I don't know. It's not a huge complaint. Yeah, I think for the most part we really liked this movie, so our complaints are pretty... That's the thing. We're being very nitpicky right now. This isn't like the last review we did where we had a lot of issues. That's pretty much all I got. It was really good. One of the things that I really wanted to talk, we'll have a couple, was that the one from the 60s, and even like the Rudyard Kipling book itself, just because being products of their times, definitely have some problematic things with them. The whole colonialism thing. There's, in the 1967 movie, there was a lot of criticism, at least these days, about the character of King Louis, because even though the voice actor Louis Prima was Italian-American, I want to say, it was sort of hard to, like, separate him from this, like, swingland music style that is very much has a lot of origins in African-American culture. So to have a song in this style with an ape being like to the human boy, I want to be like you, comes from, it doesn't have the best connotations. It comes, frankly, it's racist. It can come off as very racist. So what I really liked was how they sort of address these problematic things. So I'll start with King Louis. Christopher Walken plays King Louis in this one. And King Louis is definitely... They seriously got, like, all the big names. They did! So he was great. He definitely was played off more like a mafioso, like, not a comedic sort of, I'm a fun-loving guy. It was very much like, listen, you're gonna do this for me because you don't, I'm gonna kill you, was... And I'm doing you a... It's like the whole little, like, we'll protect you if you do this. Right. But we're protecting you from ourselves. Yeah, exactly. And then you could also sort of look at it more in the idea of it's a great ape, like an orangutan, who of course is going to be intrigued by a human because we are also like primates and higher up. And back to the elephants too, because in the book and then the movie, the elephant, in the movie especially, they were pretty much like the British military. And so the colonialism aspect there, the British military coming into India, doesn't really sit very well these days. So to make the elephant completely take that out and make them more of these dignified, otherworldly beings, I thought that was also very, very clever. The whole book is about being an outsider, and it does address how Mowgli would still be an outsider even with people. Oh, for sure. But then the Jungle Book, like, movie, cartoon, just, like, completely wipes that away in a way that's just, like, kind of bizarre. The way they've set out this whole, like, Jungles is this great place, and now Shere Khan's gone, so why would you possibly want to go back and hear people? It's just kind of, and you have that strange song where she's just singing about work. In the animated one, where they're like, Shere Khan's gone, so everything's okay, but then all of a sudden, Mowgli hears a little girl from the village singing, about, like, about work. The work that she has to do
as a woman.
Your big showpiece song in that movie is about doing nothing. And
Yeah.
just, like, having fun all the time.
Yep.
But no, you're going to give that up because you hear this girl
because of a girl.
Right. Yeah, and it's like 10. So.
I might be able to believe it as just like, oh my god, someone who looks like me. It just comes off as, she's so pretty. And then goes to the village with her, and Baloo is like, what the hell?
So, spoilers, they changed the ending in this. He stays in the jungle, and I think that works much better.
It does work much better. Need to leave. There's no reason for him to leave. He has his wolf family. He has Baloo. He has Bagheera. And Shere Khan's not a threat anymore. Yeah. And everyone has stood around him and said that they support him. And so he does belong.
And they've kind of addressed the whole outsider thing, where in the beginning of the movie, he's being told over and over again not to use his tricks.
Oh, yeah.
Which were, like, his just ability to use his human mind.
His tool making.
To think about making tools. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the movie, it's been addressed that that has value. Mm-hmm. And the animals are appreciating that, like, how he can actually really help them by doing this. And so that acceptance leads to him actually having a home and place in the jungle. And it was much more satisfying.
Good job.
Especially because they did a good job of making the humans really look like a foreign species.
Yeah.
Like, there was a very short period of time where Mowgli goes up to a human village, and the way they shot it made the people look like aliens.
Like
monsters.
Like
monsters. This is completely foreign beings, which is how they would look to Mowgli.
Yeah.
It was really effective.
For sure. It was really well done. I like that they addressed that. Because... yeah, to go into that society, I don't know, it's people online reading some articles like, oh, I mean, he was able to adapt to talk to these animals, blah, blah. It's like, that's totally different because he was a baby and that's what he learned. And that's when you're like at your most cognitive point where you're learning and absorbing everything. The older you get, the harder it is. So, no, maybe he would have been able to do a little bit like the Wild Boy of Avignon did, but it was never at the level of where he was never really got past a certain point. So why would Mowgli?
And at a certain point, it's just kind of about wish fulfillment. This movie is about a little boy growing up in the jungle and like having these like connections with these animals who are his family, and that's just a really sweet story.
Yeah,
and obviously it's not believable.
Well, no,
and that's fine. I'm
totally
fine with it. But that being the case, I want him to stay in the jungle.
I do
and
too.
if we're already gonna watch a wish fulfillment movie, let's just go. Let's just commit the full way and just have him stay.
For sure. And I like the fact that this is really a movie sort of about finding your people, because there's this whole thing, you have to find your group, and it's like, your group is right here. They don't have to be just like you.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's our thoughts. Go see it.
Yes, definitely. It was very good. If you can, see it in 3D, because it was beautiful.
It's worth seeing in theater either way, just because the visuals are so great. It's so beautiful.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, more librarians. So we do have some book recommendations that we thought might sort of go well with the Jungle Book. So would you like to go first this time?
Sure. I'm going the kind of obvious route with my
It's okay.
But I'm going to recommend, my copy is completely banged up, so you can't even recognize this, but Tarzan of the Apes and Return of the Tarzan by Edgar Rice Burroughs. Obviously, if you like stories about people growing up in the jungle, this is going to be the book for you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's going to have some of the similar issues with the time period of when it was written. So that's kind of something that you need to be aware of when you're going to read it. But still, for what it is, it's great. It's a fun adventure.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really need to go into the story.
I think we know what Tarzan is about.
But my copy is just broken up because I read it so many times. I really love it. My other recommendation, I'm just going full in on this Tarzan thing, is Jane by Robin Maxwell, which is a retelling of the Tarzan story from Jane's perspective. And it was only a couple of years ago, but it's a really fun, interesting take on the story. There's a lot of changes, so it's not being too true to the originals, but that's fine. I think Tarzan in a lot of ways is similar to Sherlock Holmes, as the characters kind of been embraced by a lot of different groups of people, and the story's been twisted to be whatever you want it to be. But this is a really fun one, having her perspective and what that is like. And the character is very strong, what they do with Jane. I mean, that's one of the weaknesses of the original Tarzan, and she's very much a damsel in distress. This Jane has a lot more to her and is doing a lot more fun things. So I definitely recommend checking it out.
I sort of went with a couple different routes with this. So the first one, I sort of going off the idea of living with animals and dealing with animals and connecting with animals, I picked Julie of the Wolves by Jean Craighead George. And basically it's a story of an Inuit girl. Her name is Mayax, but she has a pen pal with a girl in California who calls her Julie. And Mayax is sort of put in this situation. It's an arranged marriage, and she's 13, and she doesn't really want to do that.
Obviously.
For obvious reasons. And so she sort of runs off into the tundra, and she connects with a wolf pack. And so it's her interacting with these wolves, sort of being accepted by these wolves into their society, and sort of how she kind of straddles the balance, not only between being human and then dealing with wolves, but also in terms of being an indigenous person and dealing in a world of whiteness and identity and things like that. And going off of the idea of tigers, I picked Life of Pi by Jan Martel. Yes, and India, that's true. So Tigers in India, Life of Pi by Jan Martel. It's essentially about a boy named Pi whose parents own a zoo in India, and they're going to move from India to the States, or to North America, I should say, because I think it might be Canada. And the boat that they're on with all their animals, it actually sinks, and Pi finds himself in a lifeboat with a few different animals. There's an orangutan, a zebra, a hyena, and then a tiger named Richard Parker. And eventually it gets to the point where it's just Pi and the tiger, Richard Parker. So it's Pi trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to survive in a lifeboat with a tiger? So it's a very fantastical story, and it's full of adventure, and I really, really like it. Thanks for watching. Yeah, can't recommend the movie enough.
Right. Give us
really.
a comment if you've seen it and you have any opinions on it. We definitely recommend going to see it.
Yes, definitely. And then follow us either on Facebook. We're on Facebook now, of libraryladies.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at libraryladiesmn.
See you later.
Yeah, see ya.